Welcome to Rob and Tony's Cinematic Adventure. I'm Rob Wilson.
I'm Tony the Quano.
So, Tony, continuing with our Summer Blockbusters series, who are you going to call?
Ghostbusters. Anyway.
Let's get into some Ghostbusters.
We're ready to believe you. Such a iconic movie.
Yes. So yeah,
I actually think
Ghostbusters.
this is a perfect movie to do for Summer Blockbusters.
It absolutely is.
Like, actually, I guess technically you weren't even quite born yet when this was released.
Yeah, it was released right before I was born.
And I wasn't even a year. So obviously, I guess, maybe I saw it in the theater. I don't know. Probably not. So it's a movie that I really encountered later because of the brand that it created.
Oh, yeah.
It's one of those first ones kind of, after Star Wars, right? Star Wars comes after Jaws a couple of years and creates this massive brand, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you get like the Indiana Jones movies, which kind of started a brand.
Yeah.
But then like kind of Ghostbusters, it's still kind of one of those early ones. I don't think I fully appreciated that until more recently, I think. It's like, oh yeah, like this is kind of on the early edge of all of these kind of branding and franchises and marketing.
Yeah.
Because, this is 9 years after Jaws comes out, right? And it's still kind of an early blockbuster, so to speak, in terms of the summer movie.
Yeah, but it was definitely a blockbuster. It was a hit from the start.
And for what I've read, the test audiences loved it. And so, they were prepared to know that this was going to be a hit.
Yeah.
And so they started getting that in a row. And at first, the studios weren't entirely certain because it cost a lot of money to make. And it was kind of different because it blends kind of not really true horror, but,
But no,
it's got ghosts. There's ghosts, obviously.
Yeah. And some of the ghosts are kind of creepy looking for 80s.
No, seriously. Hey, don't get me started on Ghostbusters 2. But yeah, no, if you were to talk about this with Temple of Doom, right, and the PG-13 rating, we could even talk about with Jaws, the PG movie, which a kid gets eaten by a shark.
Yeah. Yeah.
But PG-13 didn't exist. PG-13 didn't really exist when this came out. And this definitely pushes, if there was a PG-13 rating at the time, would have pushed that edge.
Yeah, definitely.
It's definitely not an R-rated movie, but
no,
there's some very adult scenes, which we will get to.
Yes.
But, it blends, kind of a comedy and action and a little bit of horror. And I could see when it's initially kind of being pitched why studios have been like, I don't know if this is going to work.
Yeah, and especially, it came from Dan Aykroyd.
Yeah.
Because, he grew up, his family was into the paranormal, and so that's always fascinated him, and he wanted to make a movie about it.
And he wanted to do it with John Belushi.
Yeah, he wanted to do it with John Belushi, but sadly, John Belushi passed away in 1982, because originally Belushi was going to be Peter Venkman.
Yes.
The Bill Murray role. And so after Belushi died, then they got Bill Murray. And nobody was quite sure if Bill Murray was going to show up.
Yeah.
Because he has a reputation of being kind of a diva and very difficult to work with on a set. So he kind of works his own schedule and stuff like that. So, they brought Bill Murray in and they're all like, okay, well, this is the start date and the start time. And he would never confirm if he was going to be there or not. And then he just happened to show up just in time to start filming.
And everyone was involved with it. Ivan Reitman, he directed it, right? Mm-hmm. And John Landis, who was one of the producers, and Harold Ramis, who was one of the writers. But everything they were involved in, like Stripes, Meatballs, Animal House, it's all adult stuff.
Yeah.
all R-rated comedies. And now here it is, it's doing this comedy, and that's supposed to be kind of geared towards adults and families and kids. And I could see, how is this going to work?
Yeah.
And it's brilliant.
And and back to Belushi, they did find a way to include Belushi in the movie because Slimer,
yes,
they modeled Slimer after John Belushi, after his Bluto character in Animal House. Yeah,
and we'll get that. There's a scene that's just like that.
Yeah.
But what they get is one of the most effortless comedies to ever grace the screen.
Mm-hmm.
It's the chemistry.
It is.
And the timing.
Yeah.
Everything is just spot on.
Yes, it is fantastic. It's one of those like all the planets were aligned for this movie.
And
like everything just worked.
The bit parts too, like not even the bit parts, just to say the supporting characters. Like you get Sigourney Weaver, right? Which, and it's funny, like obviously she's playing off from her alien character Ripley, right?
Yeah.
And she's straight in this. She's a straight character in it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she gets some lines in there, but she's very serious. And
until she gets possessed by Zool.
Yes. Then she gets horny. She's no longer a string player. She's a horn player.
Yep.
And then you get Rick Moranis. He's perfect. And he wasn't supposed to be in the role.
He wasn't.
The role was going to be John Candy.
Yes, it was.
And John Candy would have been great in this role, too,
yes,
actually.
He would have.
But Rick Moranis ended up nailing it.
Because the John Candy version was a little bit different than the way that Rick Moranis played it. It was a bit of a different style for the role.
Yes.
And so when they cast Rick Moranis, he basically recreated the character for himself.
He's hilarious in it.
Yeah.
But it's so unintentional. Like, he doesn't realize he's such a goof. And
I mean, a lot of his lines, especially in the apartment party, he improvises a lot in there. And he brings his own personality to the character.
There's even some other minor roles, including one of the premier musicians in the world who has a deviate septum, I'm guessing, because he's using his nasal spray. We'll get to that.
Yep.
He's perfectly using his nasal spray.
Yep. And
finally, we'll get into them later, but William Atherton is...
Yes. He supreme douchebag once again in this movie. He does that role so well.
We haven't talked about Annie Potts and Ernie Hudson, and there's plenty of others. And we'll get to them.
Yeah, we'll get to it. We'll get to all that.
And also, I was just looking at the actual original poster for this, and it's such a great poster. It's such an underrated poster.
It really is.
They're here to save the world. You got kind of the green thing, and you look at it and you realize, it's the thing that's in Sigourney Weaver's fridge, and then it's the rest of them, right? You got the three guys there ready to try to shoot at some ghosts with their packs. Yeah, it's terrific. It's funny. Sigourney Weaver actually got billing over Harold Ramis in this movie.
Yes, she did.
For her, that's right. Yeah, she did have, between that, she was with Mel Gibson, The Year of Living Dangerously. I was trying to think if she had another big role. Anyway, so she's perfect.
Yeah.
And, I love, what's great about it too is that it's so many just practical effects. That's the other aspect of it, right? It's at that stage where computer effects and special effects are starting to be used, right? But still relies heavily on practical effects and miniatures because they have to.
Yes. Absolutely. Yeah.
There's only a few scenes there where it's obviously computer generated things. But otherwise, Yeah,
I mean, it's kind of hard to do the proton blast with practical effects.
But I always just love how the movie starts. It's just, it's kind of that foreboding music. That's the other aspect too. It's New York. I love what I love about it too. Is it's such a New York movie also.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Quite get the rep for that outside of the firehouse, I guess. But such a New York movie. It's almost kind of on that line as Manhattan's going from being really gritty to kind of the how it started to kind of get glamorized more in the 90s with Friends and everything. And other movies. So yeah. And I guess before we get to the plot, I guess I didn't even, obviously, we kind of talked about how it was 1984 and it was released, which is a great year for movies, by the way.
Oh, yes. 1984 was a fantastic year for movies.
So I was really introduced to it more around because of the brand they kind of created, because you had the real Ghostbusters, animated movie.
Yeah.
The
cartoon.
Cartoon, which is very kid-oriented.
I used to watch that show all the time.
And I had the Proton Pack. I had the Ecto. I had all of it. I had all the stuff. I had the Sega Genesis Ghostbusters game. Right?
Mm-hmm.
But Ghostbusters 2 is one of the first movies I saw in theaters.
Okay.
And I don't think I saw this until probably 12 or so. I ended up getting the VHS copy of it, and then so on and so forth.
Yeah,
right? I
don't remember when it was that I first saw it. I was pretty young. I was single digits. Yeah, I had to have been 5 or 6, something like that.
Okay. Now, maybe I had
when
too.
I first saw it.
The first actual memory of watching it was much later.
And then, it was one of those movies where, I didn't watch it all the time, but I always loved it. If it was on TV, I'd watch it when I was a kid. And so it's one of those ones that I always loved, but we never owned it. We never had the VHS or anything like that. In fact, I didn't own it until after it came out on DVD.
Okay.
And then it's been, in my collection ever since. But yeah, I mean, it's one of those ones that, it's always been, among my top nostalgia movies. And there's also just my top comedies. But it's not one that I watch all the time.
It's been a while since I watched it, and I'm glad I did. And I don't know, it helps keep it fresh, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
And yet, I don't watch it all the time. Like, it's so quotable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's one of those ones that you don't really have to watch it all the time because it's so quotable. It's so memorable that if you've seen it once, or if you've seen it a few times, then you really just look back in memory bank and sort of watch it in your head.
It's funny, like, I remember that there's the episode of How I Met Your Mother where they talk about obscure Ghostbusters lines.
Yep.
Are there really any obscure Ghostbusters lines?
There's not. There's not. The whole, if someone asks you if you're a guide, you say yes. That's not an obscure line.
No.
It's a great line.
It's a great line.
But it's not obscure.
Like, any of them, like, Sumerian, not Babylonian, right? Like, big difference.
Mm-hmm.
No, all of them. It's just these slip right into them.
Dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria.
If I'm wrong, we go to jail. Happily.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's much further in the movie.
Yeah. But anyway, so before we get into the movie, spoiler alert, we are going to be talking about the entire movie, beginning, middle, and end. So if you have not seen it and you don't want to be spoiled, pause the podcast, watch the movie, come back and listen. If you don't mind spoilers, or if you've seen it, then keep on listening. But you have been warned.
So it starts off, right? Like I said, it's very New York. New York's, I guess, like the main branch of the library. It's just the librarian pushing a cart. It goes down the lower stacks, right?
Yep.
I love it because, like, you could tell, it's some lower stack thing in the bowels of the library.
Mm-hmm.
I love it too because it's like you can tell the movie's not dated at all, and even within it, like, there's obviously some of the fashion and everything. There's not many things like, oh yeah, it's very 80s, right? At least dating things. Like, I love all the old card catalog.
Yeah.
Right, because they slowly open up, right, and they just start getting plugged out.
Open up, and all the cards fly out, and you don't find those anymore nowadays. You don't have to deal with the Dewey Decimal System all that much anymore.
If you're young, and you might just be used to just typing in a keyword, the library, right now, where different books are, or what different books you have.
It tells you where the book is.
No, back then, like, even if it just had a keyword for something, like, you would really have to do some digging.
Yeah. You go over to the card catalog, pull out the drawer, look through the cards, and match up the number on the card with the stack.
Anyway.
Yeah. It was a lot harder to do research back then.
She realizes, what she's kind of being followed, and she sees all the cards flying through the air, right?
Mm-hmm.
She looks like a kindly old librarian,
yes.
Right? There's some librarians, they get a bad rap for being, intimidating or kind of mean. And
but this one,
she looks like a sweet.
Walking through the stacks,
it looks like
books start floating between shelves, and then all the cards start flying out, and then
I have a feeling like when she goes home to like her apartment there in the city, sometimes her grandchildren are there, and she has some Werther's originals for them.
Oh yeah, of course.
She's that type of lady.
Of course, if she doesn't have them for the grandkids, her husband does.
Yeah. Anyway, then finally,
maybe she has Smarties for him. My grandma always had Smarties.
Okay, I could see that.
She'd always give us Smarties.
So she's scared, obviously, because there's books floating off the shelves and cards flying up and making a mess. And she's thinking that I gotta recatalog all of this.
Mm-hmm.
And she starts running, right? The camera work's actually really, really good on it. And then all of a sudden, you finally get, angle towards her, and then it's like the thing, and it's like, hair blows off. Right?
Yeah.
She's like,
Yeah, we don't really see the ghost at this point.
No.
But we see her reaction to it. She screams, and then it sort of fades into the logo, into the Ghostbusters logo, and you hear the song, and the Ray Parker Jr. song. Which, I mean, Ray Parker Jr., after writing this song, ended up getting sued by Huey Lewis and the News because
that's right.
The song's eerily similar to I Want a New Drug. So they accused him of sampling their song without their permission.
Yes. I always like when Vanilla Ice got sued.
Yes.
Look, just his defense.
Yes, defense.
No, it's slightly different.
Theirs is like dun 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 dun. Mine is dun 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. They're completely different.
He was okay, though, when it came to the ninja rap.
Yes. Yes. Even though I don't know how he knew all about the Turtles, like to be able to put the lyrics in that song. But hey.
Hey, he's that good.
We'll get to that movie someday.
He's Vanilla Ice.
And we'll probably talk at length about that whole sequence. But yeah, I was watching this movie yesterday. I was over at my parents' house and watching it with them. And it had been a while since my dad had seen it. And I found out yesterday my mom had never seen this movie. Or if she had, it was so long ago she doesn't remember.
Yeah, it's possible.
They both enjoyed it. I mean, my dad's always loved it, but my mom enjoyed it.
Okay, good.
She thought it was goofy. I mean, she's always, been a fan of the Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, Harold Ramis kind of comedies.
But, she likes Animal House.
She loves Animal House. It's her favorite movie.
That's hilarious. I cannot see that.
But no, like not like movies like Animal House or Stripes or stuff like that. Not so much. But she's always been a fan of like Groundhog Day. What About Bob? What
About Bob? It's such a great movie.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, the lighter Bill Murray comedies, the more family oriented Bill Murray comedies.
Not Zombieland.
The Man Who Knew Too Little.
Drop. All right.
Bill Murray wasn't in Operation Dumbo Drop, was he?
Oh, no.
That was Ray Liotta.
Yeah.
Ray Liotta and Danny Glover.
Yeah. That was different. It was a different one that he did that was like that. I don't know. Family movies in the 90s were wild.
Yep.
There's nothing like that anymore.
No.
I always love, I only saw it once. It's one of the weaker, kind of Disney sports movies. The Big Green.
Mm-hmm.
I just love how the kid's late. He's spread eagle. And the sideball's going straight at his nuts.
Yep. We watched that movie in school once in 3rd or 4th grade.
And it's great because it's at the time where soccer is still really kind of esoteric for a lot of Americans.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to Ghostbusters. So then we cut into Columbia University, right? To the Department of Psychology.
Mm-hmm.
And it's somewhere down in the basement in some office, and see the names of Bankman, and Spangler, and what's Ray's last name? Stantz, right? Doctors, right? Yeah. And you can tell they're not very popular. People are kind of vandalizing the doors.
Mm-hmm.
Bankman's in there, but two
students, one guy and one girl.
I always loved the guy. There's always someone who reminds me of Rick
Moranis. He looks like Rick Moranis.
Yeah, he kind of does.
Every time I see him, I'm like, why is Rick Moranis so early in this movie?
Then there's, this blonde, right? And it's supposed to be this experiment where they're supposed to try to be guessing.
Yeah. I mean, the guy's got probes on his head and stuck to his head and whatnot. And the girl doesn't have anything stuck to her.
No. I don't know if the guy ever recognized that or not.
I don't think so.
By the way, the actor's name is Stephen Tosh.
Yeah. And he just plays male student.
Yeah.
Stephen Tosh. And the female student is Jennifer Runyon.
Yes.
Yeah, so...
Wait, so she was... I remember this movie. I don't know when the last time it's ever been on air. So they did a Brady Bunch Christmas movie, the late 80s.
I remember that.
And she plays Cindy.
Oh, you're right. Was it late 80s or early 90s?
1988.
Okay. Yeah.
And I think I remember That's about right. The end of it.
She does play the adult Cindy.
Mike gets caught in...
Yes, he gets caught in a cave-in.
They sing for him to come out.
Yes, they do. They sing for him to come out. And Bobby's a race car driver.
That's the big news that he breaks it Christmas.
A very Brady Christmas. Mike gets trapped in a cave-in and they all crowd around the around the area and sing.
Oh, by the way, the librarian played by Alice Drummond, who plays Mrs. Finkel in Ace Ventura.
Ace Ventura.
There's a nice, kindly old lady in that movie, too.
Yep.
Except when it comes to Dan Marino.
Yep.
So the test is you have Bill Murray there as Venkman.
Yeah, he's got cards with different pictures on.
He's got cards, right? And he's looking at them, and they're supposed to try to read his mind to know what the picture is.
Yeah. Because as is revealed, he's testing the effects of negative reinforcement on ESP.
Right. And so she's blonde, she's pretty, right? And she's guessing wrong.
Which in reality wouldn't be negative reinforcement, it would be positive punishment.
Yes. But he doesn't care about such detail.
No.
He cares about the beautiful blonde.
Yes. So the rule is, like, in this test, is if one of the students gets it wrong, guesses wrong on what the picture is, then he gives them a shock.
Think about if the mouse keeps going for the wrong thing and you get a shock.
Yeah.
Eventually the mouse is supposed to go get something different.
So the guy gets the first couple cards wrong and he gets shocked. Then the girl gets it wrong. He doesn't do anything to her. He just lies and tells her, that, you're right.
Wow. I can't believe you can do this.
And then goes back to the guy. The guy gets it right and he shocks him.
I love it. He's getting flustered. He's like, I don't know. Couple of wavy lines, which technically it was 3.
It was, yes. It wasn't a couple of wavy lines. It was a few wavy lines, but
I love it. Like, he's got the pencil in his ear and he's kind of staring intently. He's waiting for it, right? He's bracing for it, and then it comes like And that's what he asked about. Like, what is this about again?
Yeah, and that's
when.
Like,
well, maybe I love it how Aikman's like, well, maybe my theory's correct. It's like, I'll tell you what the effect is. It's pissing me off. It's a great reaction.
Yeah,
I love it.
It is.
On song. Again.
It's okay. There's only 75 more.
Well, maybe I'll just go.
You can keep the $5.
And again, it goes what we were saying earlier. Like, again, small little role, and he's perfect.
Yeah.
And then, he leaves, right? And he comes around, and he sits next to the girl. He's like, you're going to have to get used to this. There's going to be a lot of negativity around your skills.
Yeah.
That's when Dan Aykroyd comes in. And then he's like, excuse me. He's like, excuse me, Ray. He's clearly not happy about the block.
Yep.
He's like, there was a whole phantom apparition at the library. It's like, we got to go. Spangler was already there. And so upon he's like, okay. He realizes he has to agree to it, right?
Yeah. So he arranges to meet up with the girl at 8:00.
I was just about to say 8:00.
Yeah.
Here's something. Whatever happened at 8:00?
I don't know. They never showed it.
How long did she wait?
That is a good question.
Anyway, so they get to the library, right? And Spangler, played by Harold Ramis, right? Egon, right? He's already there, and we see Ray and Peter. They're going up the steps, and I love it. There's even little details. They don't have to spend too long kind of doing like this exposition dump, right? We already know that Ray and Egon are going all around New York City trying to talk to different people that are having paranormal experiences.
Yeah, and several of them just turned out to be crazy people.
Yes.
Schizophrenics and whatnot.
And so, but like the an idea of trying to capture ghosts, they kind of bring that just kind of already casually into the conversations going on in the library, right? I always like, and you get in there and Harold Ramis, he's there and he's trying to make all these readings, and this little Brewery comes up and slams a book by his head. It's the middle of the library, and the librarian comes up and he's like, hi, he's trying to be quiet because library, right? And they have that poor librarian there, and they're talking with her, and Peter, he's doing what kind of a general, because he's a psychologist.
Yeah. He's got PhDs in parapsychology and psychology.
any scientist would do to kind of determine, like, okay, what actually happened here. It's like, has anyone in your family been diagnosed with schizophrenia, mental illness, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, my uncle thought he was St. Jerome.
Yeah, he's like, that's a big fat yes.
And then he's like, are you Alice right now? Menstruating. The guy's like, what has that got to do with it? Back off, man. I'm a scientist. It's funny, they go down to the stacks, and you can tell, like, Egon, he has his own little device that's trying to read the things, right? He's trying to pick up on the ghost, and they finally they reach the card catalog, and it's all covered in, like, ectoplasm. Like, Peter, get a sample of this, right? They give him a little petri dish. He's trying to get it. It's like,
he gets it on his hand. Trying to swat his hand out and get it off of
there. Hits a book on. He's like, oh, anyway. And then they come across, there's a giant stack of books in the room.
Yeah.
And then Ray's like, oh, this is like this haunting in Philadelphia.
And Peter's like, yeah, because a person can't come here and stack books
no human
like
person would ever stack a book like this. And finally they get around the corner, and like there's this apparition just kind of floating there, and she's kind of like got a little bit of a bell dress on. She looks like she's from the late 1800s, and
standing there, looking at a book.
And they're debating what to do, and there's even a little detail where, like, you see her turn her head at them. As they're kind of talking, and turns it back, and
so they sort of duck behind the corner and trying to figure out their next move.
And Peter kind of goes in. They talks to her for a second.
They said that Peter needs to make contact. So,
where are you from? Originally.
Yeah. And she just looks at him, puts her finger up to her lips, and shh. And then turns back to her book.
He's like, okay. And then they go back, and then, like, Ray's like, oh, I got a plan. They go back. They're kind of crouching down. They're walking.
And then Ray's like, get her!
Then all of a sudden, it turns in from this lady into, like, this hideous ghost.
Hideous ghost.
And they're like, ah! And then they're running out of the library, and the librarian's like, what are we going to do now? And, they're sitting somewhere right after this, and Peter's making fun of her. He's like, get her.
Get her. That's your big plan.
And they're talking about, it's like, and finally it cuts back to the university in the basement, and their entire office is getting packed up.
Yeah, their office is getting packed up.
And there's the dean. It's like, they're like, you're moving us to better quarters. He's like, no, the board of regents has met, and they decided to terminate your grant and contracts.
Yep.
And he's like, you're the worst kind of science. He's like, well, it actually tells Peter that he sees science as some sort of a grift and a con, right? I always love how Peter's like, the kids love us. Dean Yeager, yes. Again, perfect casting.
Yeah.
Played by Jordan Charney. This is like 4 episodes of Hill Street Blues.
Oh, okay.
Again, and a bunch of Law and Order. Anyway, also touched by an angel.
Ooh.
They watch.
Where did the angel touch him?
Anyway. So, they have to leave, and, now again, they're sitting around, and it's just Peter and Ray, and they're drinking. Right? Ray's obviously like, oh, this is embarrassing. Harvard, Stanford, no one's going to touch us now.
Yeah. And Peter's like, but hey, this is a great opportunity.
Einstein did his best work as a patent clerk. It's like, you know how much a patent clerk makes? And he's like, no. I love the scene. Like, this is kind of what's like really funny in kind of subtle ways. It's like, I've been in the real world, Peter. Funny, like, Peter just spent all this time in school getting his degrees.
Yeah.
to avoid actually being in the real world.
Getting his degrees and then working at the school and
like,
so yeah, Ray's like, I've been in the private sector.
They expect results.
You know.
And then they start talking about this plan that Ray and Egon formulated about capturing ghosts, right? And you're saying like, yeah, we think maybe we can actually do this.
Yeah, because Peter points out how it's a great opportunity that they can finally work for themselves.
Yeah, and Peter's like, like, well, where do we get the money? Like, Peter's like, I don't know.
And they end up taking out a loan on Ray's ancestral home.
It's so perfect. Like, again, like they get their roles right because, like, Dan Aykroyd has to be the person within the Ray role here. He's like, parents left me that house.
Parents left me that house. And Peter's like, it's okay. Everybody's got 3 mortgages nowadays.
and then like the interest rate and then Egon's like, it comes out to this much.
19%.
This
you
was
didn't even try to haggle with him. And he's like, the interest alone is however much.
Peter's like, call it karma, call it luck. I think we've had this opportunity to go into business for ourselves. It's like the franchise rights themselves or make us rich beyond our wildest dreams. Again, like the Dean's kind of right about him.
Yeah.
Like he's obviously a smart dude.
Oh yeah, obviously, but yeah, he's definitely has a little bit of grifter in
him. And so, and meanwhile, now we've established them. We have Dana Barrett, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
played by Sigourney Weaver
for the New York Symphony Orchestra. And we see her, and she's in her nice, she's going into her apartment in her nice apartment building in Central Park West. And she comes up, she's getting out of a taxi cab, right? And she goes in, she comes off the elevator, she's got her groceries in the bag, and then Rick Moranis comes out, her neighbor from across the hall.
I mean, she's got to be making some money because she lives in the corner penthouse of a New York City apartment building.
I always thought this too. The whole layering in is like, because Rick Moranis, right? Like Lewis, totally. Like he lives there too, and
he's an accountant.
He's an accountant, but it seems like he's a private accountant. Like it seems like he's just doing it. Like he's not doing it for
like an accounting firm
major Fortune 500 companies where he's like the CFO, right?
Yeah. No, he seems to just like have his own little private accounting firm or something.
Like the people that he is. Again, he seems like he maximizes his money really well.
Yes,
we do find that out later.
Yes.
At the party.
Yes.
Because like most of his clients seem like to be fairly average people, mostly like middle class people.
Yeah.
So anyway,
but there's a bunch of them. He has a lot of clients.
He does. He's a good accountant. He's Rick Moranis. Of course, he's a good accountant.
Yeah.
He will later develop a gun that can shrink people.
Yes.
I mean, come on.
Yeah. And if that shrink ray is reversed, it'll grow people. It'll grow babies and stuff.
Grow babies. Yes.
So they terrorize Vegas. Or is it Reno that he's terrorizing? I think it's Vegas, isn't it?
No, it's Reno.
Is it Reno?
Because they had the whole Reno sign. The Reno sign.
Oh, yeah. That's right.
Because both Honey, I Blew Up the Kid and Sister Act both take place in Reno.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyway. And, he gets out because he has a crush on her, right? And it's like, hey, Dana. And, like, you can tell that she, she puts up with him. Like, she doesn't want to hurt his feelings.
Yep. Because, he's
kind of annoying.
She knows he's a sweet guy, but, yeah, he's just relentless. Annoying.
He's clueless. And he talks about how he's having a party for all his clients. And he's like, even though you do your own taxes, which you shouldn't.
Yeah, you do your own taxes, which you shouldn't. I've got a little get together with all my clients.
He's like, okay, maybe we'll make it. And he's like, you shouldn't leave your TV on so long. The guy down the hall called the manager and complained. So you know what I did? I
climbed out on a ledge. So I tried to go and unhook the cable, but I couldn't get to it. So I turned my TV up real loud so that maybe there was something wrong with our TVs.
And she was like, thank you, Lewis. And he goes in and goes to the door. He's like, okay, I'll see you later then. Goodbye.
I absolutely love Louis Tully in this movie. Rick Moranis plays him perfectly.
He's got the athletic suit going on too.
Yes,
like the 80s athletic suit.
Oh.
And then these doors, I guess they actually they lock from the inside, so like, he can't get in without his key.
Yeah,
and he's just pounding on the door.
And I mean, just a little aside, Rick Moranis is a very interesting person, also, because he throughout the 80s, he was in movies, he was on SCTV, he was really funny, in some really funny comedies, Strange Brew, Spaceballs, all sorts of.
Oh yeah.
Oh, just fantastic.
It's funny, like
fantastic
one of his
comedies.
last big movies was like we talked about, was like How I Shrunk the Kids.
Yeah.
Which is like not really, it's a family movie, but it's not like it's relying on his comedy.
Yeah, and he's one of the people. He's one of those few actors that has successfully left Hollywood.
Yes,
because his wife passed away, and so he stopped acting.
He became basically a stay-at-home dad.
Yeah,
because he had the money to do it, but yeah.
But yeah, he left Hollywood behind, and he's a stay-at-home dad. He's been that way since the 90s, right?
Yeah. But I thought I read somewhere that he had accepted another role recently. It was his first role in a long time. Which, granted, his kids are like older now because he's 71.
Mm-hmm. No, he did.
Oh yeah, My Blue Heaven. Have you ever seen My Blue Heaven? He's in that with Steve Martin. That's
I have not seen that one. But yeah, he did do a brief role in an episode of Goldbergs a few years ago, where he reprised his role as Dark Helmet.
Okay.
Just for a couple of minutes of screen time. But yeah, he's been away from, making movies and everything for, the last almost 30 years.
Yeah, no, so there was a moment where it looked like they were going to do like a reboot of Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Mm-hmm.
And he was going to be slated to be in that if they ever actually got it made.
Okay.
But it's pretty much been put off indefinitely, so it looks like it's not going to happen.
Okay.
So that's probably what I was seeing. He was going to reprise his role as Wayne Zielinski, right? So.
But yeah, I mean, it's nice though because so many stars like that because he was big in the 80s.
Oh yeah.
And so many stars with that level of, of popularity, a lot of them, let it get to their heads and they, just want next role after the next role. They want to get as famous as they can. He actually has his priorities straight. We
didn't even mention Little Shop of Horrors.
We didn't mention that. But I thought about it. I almost mentioned it. But yeah, we hadn't mentioned that one yet. But yeah, like he has his priorities straight. His family needed him. His kids needed him. So he quit Hollywood and he's just been a stay-at-home dad, basically, taking care of his family.
Right. So Dana goes in the apartment, right? And it's, again, you can tell it's a nice apartment. And then, she goes into her little kitchen. She starts unloading her groceries and she puts an egg carton there.
Right next to a bag of Stay Puft marshmallows.
A bag of Stay Puft marshmallows. And then she's going, on the other side of the kitchen. She's getting out like the produce. All of a sudden, the carton of the eggs opens up, and some of the eggs start popping out.
Landing on the counter?
Frying on the counter. And she's like, oh! Right? And she's just kind of shocked by that, and she's just staring at it. And then to her left is where the refrigerator is, and she starts hearing this growling.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and there's this kind of glow coming from around the fridge, and she opens the door. I would not have opened the door.
No. No, that's when you pull that fridge out of the little alcove it's in, push it over the window, and just push it out.
Push it down 60 stories.
Well, it's 22 stories, but...
It's 22 stories.
Yeah, 22.
Whatever it is. Still...
Yeah, because later when the Ghostbusters have to walk up the stairs, they get to 22 and that's her floor.
She opens it and it's all glowing in there and there's clouds and there's this.
Yeah, it's like this other dimension in there.
Going into this pyramid, right? And then there's like this demon dog.
Yeah.
And just looks at her, he's like, Zool! And now she finally closes the door.
Yeah, now she finally closes the door and runs.
So, now that's Dana. Anyway, we're back into the Ghostbusters. They're looking around. They're trying to find a place for their business, right?
Yeah. And they find this old firehouse, this old fire station, and the realtor's walking them through it. Peter's trying to negotiate with her a little bit, and Egon is talking about how everything's bad. That
everything bad.
Wiring is not up to par with what we need. It's structurally unsound.
The neighborhood is like a demilitarized zone.
Mm-hmm. I recommend that this building be condemned. And then Ray, stands up at the top of the fire pole. He's like, "This is great. Does this pole still work?"
Does this pole still work? It's a pole. It works unless it's broken in the middle.
He slides down the pole, and he's like, I love this place. We should get it.
We should stay here tonight, like sleep over.
And Peter just looks at the realtor, and he's like, I guess we'll take it.
Light up.
I guess we'll take it.
Like, we're going to take it. She's like, good. Then when does Dana see the commercial for them? Oh, she sees it because was it before? Maybe the scene with her in the apartment is
because I think the scene with her in the apartment is after they find the firehouse.
She kind of sits down.
Because it's shortly after they get the firehouse that then the commercial comes on. They do the commercial. We're ready to believe you.
Ready to believe you. Because how do they put it? As not just ghost elimination service.
Yes.
We goes in, right? So they get it, and then eventually they find they get the ecto. And is there a scene after they get the because there's that scene, and then there's a scene with her there, and that's when right, okay. So after that happens, and then you get the whole scene where you have Ray comes up, and he's in like an old ambulance or old morgue car or whatever, and it just needs all types of work, right? And they've hired like a receptionist, and
it was like an old hearse.
Someone it's like it costs like $5,000, and it's going to cost all like.
Here we go. Here's the commercial. So Ray is. Are you troubled by strange noises in the middle of the night?
That's right.
Then Egon, do you experience feelings of dread in your basement or attic? Then Peter,
feelings of dread.
Have you or your family ever seen a spook, specter, or ghost? And Ray's like, if the answer is yes, then don't wait another minute. Pick up the phone and call the professionals. Then all of them are like, Ghostbusters! And then Ray, our courteous and efficient staff is on call 24 hours a day to serve all your supernatural elimination needs. And then all three of them, we're ready to believe you.
We're ready to believe you. There she is. Rhoda Gemma Johnny is the real estate lady.
Yeah.
She had 21 episodes on Who's the Boss.
Oh.
Very 80s.
Yes.
So you had to see with Dana. We go back to the firehouse. He kind of drives up in it and like, it's gonna need all this work, and he paid $5,000 for that.
Yeah.
Think what? Then they walk in. They've already hired like a receptionist played by the lovely Annie Potts, Janine, right?
Janine Melnitz.
And it's like, has there been any phone calls? She's like, no. He's like, we're paying you here. Like, do something. I always love that Egon comes out from under the desk.
Yes.
It's so weird. It's so flipped. Right?
Yep.
Not expecting the guy to come out from under the desk. Nothing's happened at all.
No, nothing's happened.
Doing something with the computer.
Yeah. And
she's clearly into him.
Yeah, she's clearly into Egon. She's clearly into him.
She's like, I wear my glasses. Some people think it makes me look like an intellectual. I also love to read. Yeah. It was reading like TV Guide or People, right?
She's like, and I collect whatever. And she's like, do you collect anything?
I collect spores, molds, and fungus. Yeah. He walks off, and that's when Dana walks in, right?
Mm-hmm.
Ray's kind of working on the car. He's got a cigarette, and he sees Sigourney Weaver walk by. He's like, why is she here?
She here, and so she goes and starts.
Why is Ripley here?
Yeah. So she goes up and starts talking to Janine, and Peter is in the back.
I was like,
Peter's in the background.
Earlier he was like, I'll be in my office, which is really just like the desk there. It's like the very back.
Yeah. So once Peter hears Sigourney Weaver talking, he looks over and sees her and hops over. He's like, I'll take her. I'll take it. What can I do for you?
Well, what I have to say might sound really strange. He's like, that's all we get around here. Yeah. I love to look at Janine's face. She looks like, Right, and then they cut into like one of the upper levels where they have all their equipment, and they have the electrodes attached to her head, and trying to track everything, and she's giving the story, and Egon's got the light on his head, and
yeah,
it's like, no, she's telling the truth. Thinks she is.
Yeah,
like, well, who would make up a story like this? Some are just crazy people. Some are looking for attention or money. And they're saying, like, what it could possibly be. And they're like, it could be past life, encroaching in, or repressed memory. And it's like, I don't believe in any of that. I love how Peter goes like, that's okay. Neither do I. So I love how Ray and Egon look at each other. It's like, this is the most, like, grounded, practical of all of them.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's not paranormal. It's actually something else happened. Like, something very psychological.
Yeah.
Like, well, I could look up Gozer, or I could look up the structure. Like, maybe the building has a history of psychic turbulence. Peter's like, well, you go to the library, and I'll go back to Miss Barrett's apartment and check her out.
I mean, check out the apartment.
They get there, and then of course, Lewis, he's very attentive to when that elevator opens, because his apartment's next to the elevator.
Yeah.
So he can hear it open.
Yeah, his apartment's across the hall and then down the hall a little bit from Dana's. But yeah, it's right next to the elevator.
So he's probably hears it. He's probably looking at the people. He sees Dana with some strange guy, right? And he kind of he doesn't say anything. He just gets out of there, right? And so there they go into Dana's apartment, and they're talking. He's like, you don't act a whole lot like a scientist.
He's got this like wand that he's waving around.
He's just kind of like got a little
pumping a little bulb.
It's like, what is that thing? Oh, it's
very scientific.
Many little tools. It's very scientific.
It's one of our little toys.
And he's looking back. He's like, is that the bedroom? He's like, yes, but nothing happened in there. That's a shame.
That's a shame.
It's like, Dr. Venkman, you've come all this way. Don't you want to see the kitchen? Well, even before that, like, it's like he's just got the piano, right? And he's
he walks in there, he starts just hitting a couple of the keys just over and over. He's like, they hate this.
Actually, like, this is the most dressed up he's kind of been too, right?
Yeah.
He's got he's got the little blazer on.
Yeah, he's got a tie.
It was a blazer. Anyway, and so that's when she's like, do you want to see the kitchen? Like, you come all this way. Do you want to see the kitchen?
Yeah. So they go into the kitchen.
He goes in there, and the fried eggs are still there on the counter. He's like, that is weird. He kind of picks them up, and then
that is weird. He picks one of them up, kind of flaps it around a little bit, puts it back down on the counter. He's like, and this is the fridge.
And he opens it up, and he's like, oh my gosh! He's
Look at all that junk food.
He picks up bologna. He's like, you actually eat this?
Eat this. Yeah. And he's like, I swear, when I opened it before, that wasn't there.
There's nothing there now. And then, he talks like, oh, we got a problem. It's like, yes, we both have a problem. You.
Yeah.
And he tries to continue to woo her, and then she eventually gets him out of the apartment. Well, then she's like, are you sure you're using that thing correctly? Yeah. Oh, yeah. We talked about that. Anyway, gets him out of the apartment. Lewis is then out there again. They stare at each other. He leaves.
Yep.
So maybe it's that night, maybe it's a few nights later. They're eating takeout Chinese. And it's, like 8 o'clock at night, 9 o'clock at night, something like that. It's not super late. And they're like, this is the last of the petty cash.
Yeah, because Peter's like, I'm going to have to withdraw some petty cash. I need to go and take our new client out to dinner. And Ray's like, he points at the food. He's like, see this big beast here? This is the last of our petty cash.
And then Egon keeps saying, and Peter's like, slow down. And then he gets downstairs, and she's about to go out for the evening. Her day's done, and she's on. Then she gets a call, and I love it. She's like, "Oh yes, they're very serious."
Yes, they're very serious.
Oh, yes. They're very discreet. It's like, what's the address, right? And then,
Hangs
she
up.
hits the button, hits the buzzer up there. Like, it's the call.
Yeah.
They almost it's like they don't know what to do.
Yeah.
They had not rehearsed this yet.
Nope, it's their first call. Yeah, so they all jump up. They all slide down the poles. They slide down the fire pole, go to their lockers, get all dressed up.
They get in the Ecto one, and then they go right, flying through the streets of Manhattan. Right, they arrive at the Cedric Hotel, and the hotel manager's there. And he's like, most of the staff know about the history, and they talk. Obviously this ghost has caused problems before, and it's at night, and they want it done quickly.
Mm-hmm. It's on the 12th floor.
It's like, can you get this done quickly, and again, like as discreetly as possible, because it's a very posh hotel.
Yes,
in Manhattan.
And the hotel manager is perfect for his role, too.
Oh, my goodness. He's perfect. I had his name up earlier.
Yeah, Michael Ensign.
Yes, Michael Ensign. Yes, there he is. It's kind of funny because, the older look of him himself, I could see that. It's kind of funny because, when the movie was made, it's hilarious. He was, 40 years old when they made this movie, and he looked like 60. That's how serious of a hotel manager he is.
Yeah. Well, he didn't look quite 60, but no, he definitely looked older than he was. But
he, by the way, the actor, was in Titanic as Guggenheim. Anyway,
so they go up to the 12th floor.
Well, first they're waiting.
Oh yeah,
to get on the elevator. And the guy's like, "What are you at? Some type of cosmonaut?"
Yeah, some kind of cosmonaut.
It's like exterminators. Someone saw a termite up on 12.
A cockroach.
Someone
saw a cockroach on 12.
That guy was Murray Rubin, by the way.
Ah.
Also very perfect in the role.
Yes.
Again, 2 lines probably.
So they get in the elevator and then they're like, "You coming?" He's like, "I'll take the next one."
And then also it hits them that they have unlicensed.
Yeah, they've never tested the unlicensed nuclear reactors they have in their bags.
I blame myself. I blame myself.
Yeah, so Ray has Egon switch them on, and then once you hear the proton pack powering up, then Peter and Egon kind of move over to the other side of the elevator.
They get out, they're splitting up on the.
They're trying to create as much space between them as possible, but there's only a foot of space there.
Again, it's a posh hotel, but it's Manhattan. There's still going to be tight elevators.
Yeah.
Plus, they got proton packs. So they split up.
So first they get out of the elevator
first,
and they hear the maid.
There's a maid.
So Ray and Egon turn. They both fire their proton packs at the maid's cart. She narrowly ducks out of the way.
She's like, "What the hell are you doing?"
There's scorched toilet paper and.
They're "Sorry."
And then Peter's like, "Well, successful test."
And that's when they split up.
Yeah, so then they split up. Yeah, we can do more damage that way.
That's right. It was a great line. Yeah.
Good idea. We can do more damage that way.
The man. I find the man. Anyway. And it's Ray that first.
Ray first sees Slimer. Slimer is eating, there's a room service cart.
Or room service.
Yeah, and there's a cart with all the food on there, and so Slimer's in there.
Slimer, if you haven't seen it, right? He's this big green blobby ghost. And he's gluttonous. We talked about John Belushi. It's like the scene in Animal House where he's in the school cafeteria there and he's eating everything, right? And it's the same thing. He tries to shoot at it, and then it scares off Slimer, and he kind of takes the cart with him.
Yeah, and because they've never tested these proton guns, they're not really that good at aiming them yet.
So it flies away with the cart, and it goes through a wall, and you see the cart slammed in the wall, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it leaves all this kind of like ectoplasm on the wall, right? And then Ray, like they got walkie-talkies, right? He's talking to Peter.
Telling what he saw, and then Peter turns the corner, and there's Slimer at the end of the hall.
It's like I see him.
And then Slimer just starts charging at him.
But before that, like Ray's like, he's a nasty little bugger. And he's like, I think he can hear you, Ray.
Yeah, I think he can hear you, Ray.
And then Slimer's like, rawr.
Yep. Charges at Peter.
Charges at Peter, just like,
and slimes him.
Just starts screaming. He puts his arm up like in front of his face. Like it's somehow going to block him.
Yeah. Next thing we see, Ray and Egon run around the corner. They see Peter laying on the ground.
Egon first. It's Ray. He runs over. He's like, he sees Peter, and Peter's like, he slided me. And Egon comes over the radio. And Ray's like,
oh yeah, that's right.
It's like he slided Peter. Egon's like, that's great. Actual physical contact.
Save some for me. So Ray's like, Peter, can you move?
He's like, oh. Bill Murray's so terrific. Even his facial expressions and just the noises he makes.
Mm-hmm.
So they follow it back down into like a ballroom. It's supposed to be held for this woman that's having some type of like reception in there or something. They talk to the manager. He's like, Ray's like, stay here. Don't let anyone in here. We're going to take care of this. Slimer's just flying all around this ballroom, right?
Mm-hmm. And, they're moving all the tables and stuff out of the way to create room. And Peter, he's like, I've always wanted to try this. And grabs a tablecloth. He yanks it out. He's like, the flowers are still standing.
And all this noise is coming out, and the manager's like, what's going on in there? And then the lady, it's like, we're going to have it ready at the time that you have it reserved or whatever, It's like, trying to, figure out what to do and, like, making a plan.
Meanwhile, they keep hearing all these crashes coming from inside the ballroom.
I just love it. And then he gets like, I forgot to tell you guys, don't cross the streams.
Yeah.
It's like, what? It's like, don't cross the streams. It could be really bad.
Yeah.
I love Bill where he's like, I'm a little hazy on this good bad thing. And he explains, like, imagine all energy colliding. And then reversing,
and then ceasing to exist.
Like, oh, okay, and then
yep. And Slimer's, running circles around the chandelier. So they shoot up at him, end up hitting the chandelier and knocking it down, this big crystal chandelier. It just falls and shatters on the floor.
You got Egon, Peter, they're kind of trying to get it together, and Ray's kind of directing them. They were to get it towards the trap, and then outside, the manager, he's about to have them open the door back up, right?
Mm-hmm. And they successfully grab...
They grab it, and they have to pull it down together and get it in the trap, right?
And while they're pulling it down, then Egon's like, hey, Peter, shorten your beam. I don't want my face to melt off.
So many... Oh my. And they capture Slimer.
Yeah, they get him in the trap.
And they kick it and like they come out, and I love it. Peter's like,
we came, we saw,
we kicked its ass. They're holding up the trap, and Ray's telling them what type of ghost it was. Real nasty one, too. And then he's like, now we can get that down to business. He's got his little notepad and his pen.
Yeah. Like, so, that'll be $3,000 for the entrapment.
Egon, he's putting fingers up next to his face.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, we're having a sale on containment this week.
Yes. It's like, that'll be $3,000 for the entrapment.
And then like 1,000.
We're having a sale. Yeah, 1,000 for the something, and then we're having a sale on our containment. Normally it's 2,000, but we'll give it to you for one. And it is a total of $5,000.
I didn't think it'd be that much. No, I'm not paying.
$5,000.
Like, oh, we'll just return it back in there. Yeah, 5,000.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we'll just go put it back in here and.
They give him the invoice. He's like, okay. They give him the invoice.
Okay, fine.
And we get the great 80s montage after this. Because now they're getting super popular, right?
Well, cleaning up the town is playing.
Yeah. You get Larry King.
Yeah, a very young Larry King.
They get someone asking Ray about how Elvis is.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get Casey Kasem.
Yes, you get Casey Kasem. And you get Ray getting a blowjob from a ghost.
Talked about how there's adult stuff in this.
Yes.
He's just there.
He's laying in bed, and all of a sudden this ghost is floating above him, and then it disappears and unbuckles his belt, undoes his zipper, undoes his pants, and then you just see this look on his face.
And he falls out of bed. Where did that ghost come from? I've always wondered, where did this ghost come from?
Did it escape containment?
That's what
because it was in the firehouse. They were all sleeping.
So, yeah, but then you get Casey Kasem doing his countdown. They go to some nightclub where they have to encounter a poltergeist, and they dance the night away.
Yep.
Even though a poltergeist is not like a physical ghost. And anyway, but then while they're doing all this, right, you have Dana, she's listening to it, right? And she's seen the TV spot on it, and then she's also hearing it on the radio, and she's doing her sit-ups, right? Everyone's working out in the 80s. Mm-hmm. She's still wondering about her case. So finally, as they're kind of ending the montage, a guy comes in. It's Winston, right? He's a tall African guy played by
Ernie Hudson.
Ernie Hudson, thank you. And Janine's kind of doing like a initial interview with him, like, do you believe in the Loch Ness Monster, the theory of Atlantis? It's like, he's like, if there's a steady paycheck involved, I'll believe in anything. Yeah.
But what we find out later is he's only making $11,500 a year. Because he mentions that. Yes. He's like, this isn't worth $11,500 a year. I mean, granted, it was the 80s, but
it was 80s.
Still, $11,500 wasn't much in the 80s.
Let's see here. Inflation calculator. 11.5. 1984. This will be for 2023. Yeah, no. It would still be like $32,000.
Yeah.
In Manhattan.
Yeah.
He's living on Staten Island.
Yeah.
But he gets to see some cool shit.
Yes, he does. Yes, he does.
Ray comes in. They just capture the ghost. He's like, perfect. You're hired.
Yeah. No interview, nothing. Just welcome aboard. And then Ray hands him the ghost trap. He's like, here, hold this.
Orientation, right?
So they take him downstairs and show him the containment unit. They go through there, pushing the different buttons, and then when the light is green, the trap is clean.
Yep. Meanwhile, they have done some research on Zool, right?
Yeah.
Zool was the minion of Gozer.
Yes. A Sumerian demigod.
What's he doing in my icebox, right? He's relaying this information outside her orchestra, right?
Yeah.
Her orchestra practice, right? We said she's a cellist, and she's...
Yeah, and this is where the guy with the nasal spray comes in.
Yeah. He's waiting out there, right? And he's kind of skipping along on one foot. And
yeah, Peter is.
Yes. Not nasal spray guy.
He's got an orange jacket on. He's kind of skipping around outside on one foot,
And he's like, you're the best one in your row. She's like, thank you. Not many people can single me out.
Not many people can single one person out of a whole orchestra.
And so, yeah, they talk about the whole thing. And she's like, well, what's he doing in my icebox? It's like, I don't know. And that's what he asked her on a date. And they go back and forth. She finally says yes. She goes back to the guy, right? He's like a horn player. And like, who's that guy? Well, first they were complaining about the conductor.
Yeah.
He's like, I don't think you should be conducting a major orchestra. Something like that, right? And, I was like, asking up Peter, he's like, who's that guy? It's like, oh, he's a scientist. And finally, I love how Peter's like, it was a pleasure meeting you, sir. But, and he's happy because he's still kind of skipping around, right? He got the date with the girl finally.
Yep. And then the date night comes. Dana gets home.
Well, before date night, we also have a scene now because the EPA has come also.
Yes.
So we got to go back and we got to get back to the fire,
Yes, that's right.
And that's when we got William Atherton.
Yes. So Walter Peck, played by William Atherton, who plays the best douche.
He does. He really does.
He is so good at playing that character that you hate so much.
Right. So, he's talking to Peter there, and he just starts asking questions. Like, thinking, where do you keep these ghosts? Like, in a containment
unit. Would that containment unit be on the premises? Like, yes.
Like, yes.
Can I see it?
Yeah.
No.
No.
Why not?
Why not?
You didn't say the magic word.
You didn't say the magic word. What is the magic word?
Please.
Mr. Venkman. No, he does say Dr.
Venkman, yeah.
What is the magic word? I love how he's like, and what are your PhDs in? I have PhDs in psychology and parapsychology. I love how serious, like, Burberry is. Like, he's very professional here. He's like, I am smarter than you.
Yeah.
Here he is actually acting like that high tier academic. Like, I am smarter than you.
Yep. So William Atherton is like, may I please see the containment unit? Bill Murray's like, no.
Why do you want to see the containment unit? Because I want to know what you do here. It's like, you can have it your way, Dr. Bacon. I can go back and be like, you go get your court order, and I'll sue your ass for prosecution.
And
that's right. But then finally, like you said, it's date night.
Yes. And Dana's getting home. She's walking in the hall, and Lewis meets her out there. His party's going on. His
party's going on. You hear it.
It's date night. It's the party night. The night when she told Lewis that she'd try to make it.
I forgot. Before that, we see, before she gets out of the elevator, on top of the building, there's like these kind of gargoyle type creatures.
Yeah.
They're like dog type creatures.
Yes, that's right.
They start crumbling, right?
Yeah.
And then she gets out of the elevator.
Yeah. Then she gets out of the elevator, walks up there. Lewis comes out. He's like, hey, great party. Come on in. And she's like, oh, sorry, Lewis. I can't. I have a date tonight. He's like, you have a date tonight?
He looks so dejected.
Yeah.
You feel bad for the guy.
It's like, yes, I'm sorry, Lewis. I forgot about your party.
Like, oh, I'm sorry.
Like, but
it's okay. You can bring him.
You can bring him if you want. It's like, okay, maybe we'll stop by later. It's like, okay,
great.
I'm going to go tell everybody you're going to be here. Yeah. I'm going to tell everybody you're coming.
like Twister.
I love how every time he leaves his apartment, he always locks the door behind him.
This time,
he shuts the door and it's locked.
In there now.
Yep.
So he's just like, let me in.
Let me in.
Anyway, Dana goes into her apartment. And she gets a call from her mom. She's talking. He's like, oh, yeah, I have a date. And I was like, oh, he's a Ghostbuster. And
yep, the people on TV.
And they hang up. And then, she's like kind of taking off with, she's just getting ready. She's starting to get ready so she can, go get dressed and wait for the date. She starts hearing something. And she's like, oh, shit. I love, like, it's weird. Like, I don't understand this aspect of it, right? She's in this nice, comfy chair, and these arms come out, and they start touching her boobies, and
and they sort of just hold her to the chair. And then the chair starts moving toward the fridge.
Chair around to face, like, the kitchen. And the kitchen door opens up, and there's, like, this demon dog there. Yeah. And so, like, I don't know where these arms actually kind of come from, right? When you look at all of it.
Well, anyway. I mean, she's sitting in an armchair.
Right? One's over her mouth and it goes in, and that's that. Now we're in Lewis's apartment, and he's going around that he's still entertaining his guests, and
which a lot of the lines in this were improvised.
Smoked salmon. And he's like, I got it at this because I'm doing this as a work expense. This. It's like, should do this and should do that. He's still giving everyone tax advice.
Yeah.
Not just tax advice, just money advice.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And, he's talking to some woman there, and, she's probably the youngest person.
Yeah.
She's like, I'm going to leave. He's like, well, maybe if we start dancing, everyone will start dancing. Right? And he just
starts moving around.
I love it.
Oh, yeah.
Right? They get knocked on the door, and it's like, oh, Ted and Elaine, right? He's like, Ted's got, a small business, and Elaine is drawing a pension.
Yeah. And the crazy part is, like, most of his lines in this party were improvised.
Yes.
Like, it just came from Rick Moranis' head.
He opens the door to his bedroom, which is where he's keeping the coats, right? He tosses one.
Lands on the demon dog.
Just there. It's like, okay, what are we gonna do next? And then all of a sudden, it's like, okay, who brought the dog?
Yeah, who brought the dog?
It's like, you've opened the door for everybody. What do you know who brought the dog? And all of a sudden, like, again, this is where you kind of, like, the initial thing, kind of like an animatronic type of creature. But now, once it starts moving, like...
it's like stop motion.
Right?
And
it's like, it bursts out of the room, and everyone's scared, and... I love how he's the first one out of his apartment.
Yeah.
Everyone else kind of stays there. Right? And he's hitting the door, the buttons on the elevator, and it bursts out of his apartment. The lady on the other side of the elevator, an old lady, she's got her curls off. Yep. She's like, oh! He gets in. And he gets down, like, he comes down. You see him running out of the apartment. He's Central Park West. So, like, the apartment faces Central Park.
Yeah.
The front doors, right? Somehow this thing gets down.
Yeah, somehow gets down there. He's running through Central Park and it's chasing him.
They finally hit, like, Tavern on the Green, right? He's pounding
on the window. Like, somebody help me! This is dog chasing me.
And all these people are, like, staring at him like, what? He finally turns around. It's like, nice doggy.
Maybe I have a milk bone. He's looking at his pockets.
And they're like, ah! And he kind of just, like, slides down, and everyone just resumes eating.
Yeah, everyone just looks over, then just goes back to their eating.
And meanwhile, it's nighttime. You have a scene of, like, Winston and Ray, and they're driving around the city. It looks like they were in Brooklyn or Queens. They're driving back over into Manhattan, and they're talking about the Bible.
Yeah, they're talking about Revelation. And the end times, and how at the end times the dead will rise from their graves, and what if this is that?
They're like, let's turn up the music, right? Turn it up, and then finally we see Rick Moranis again. And that like he kind of seems he's like possessed, like his shirt's torn, he's kind of walking, kind of running, kind of funny, right?
Yeah.
He runs up to a horse, like if you've been in New York, right? You go to Central Park.
Well, no, first we've got Peter shows up for the date.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. First, Peter shows up at Dana's apartment for the date.
Yeah, and first, like, there's cops there, and they're like, what happens? Like, oh, someone brought a cougar to our party.
Yeah. No, was it a cougar, or did they say a mutt?
I don't know. I
think it was somebody brought a mutt in,
I don't know.
or something. I don't know. Yeah.
So he walks through, he goes up the elevator, and gets out, and the people talking there at Lewis's apartment, right? Mm-hmm. He's like, okay. It's across the hall, and then he knocks on the door, and then Sigourney Weaver opens the door, and she's like, are you the key master?
And he's like, nope. And she shuts the door. He knocks on again. Like, are you the key master? Like, yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I'm a friend of his.
He sent me over. He'll be here soon. Sigourney Weaver plays this part
perfectly.
Yeah.
Too. Like, we didn't talk about this earlier. She plays like this straight role in the movie, but she plays this part, which is not straight. And it's anyway the switch between it, and then she starts talking about how like prepare for Gozer, the destructor. Then she brings him into her bedroom, and she's clearly trying to do the deed.
Yeah.
It's not emotional catharsis because it's not anyway. He was like, I make it a rule not to get involved with possessed people.
Yeah. And he's like, I'd like to talk to Dana now. And she's like, there is no Dana. There is only Zool. He's like, are you sure? I'd really like to talk to Dana.
There is no Dana. There is only Zool.
There is no Dana, only Zool.
There you go. And I love how she's like, I want you inside me. She's like, it sounds like you have about a dozen people in there already.
Yeah, I love that.
And so thankfully he brought, a set of dips with him.
Yeah. And then she starts floating above the bed.
Yeah, we find out the sedatives later, actually. But yeah, then she starts floating above the bed. Right? He's looking up.
And she starts spinning.
Goes, ah!
She starts spinning.
Very Exorcist reminiscent, right?
Yep.
And she kind of like growls at him again, right? And that's when it cuts into Lewis running through Central Park.
He's running through Central Park, and he's like, I'm the key master.
He's screaming. He's kind of running like a wild dog in a way.
Yep.
He's just,
and he sees a horse. He runs over to the horse. He's like
it's one of those horses. Like, you've been in Central Park, like they can ride horses through Central Park, right?
A carriage
ride, right?
And so he runs over the horse. He's like, "Wait, Gozer will come in the night."
And then the driver, right, looks like, I make the deals here.
I make the deals here. Come talk to me.
And then his eyes like glow up, and he growls at him. And he's just something else on the horse, and he runs away. And then the guy's like, "What an asshole!" And the next thing is like, you go back to the house, and there's a cop car, right? And and he's knocking on the door, and Janine answers. It's like, pick it up or drop it off. Drop it off. And Egon's there, and they get back to the back of the, it's like a little paddy wagon, right?
Yep.
He's like, he's holding it up. He's like, you better bring him inside.
Yeah, you better bring him inside.
So, the first thing he says, like, the first thing he asks Egon's like, "Are you the key master?"
Yeah, are you the key master?
No,
I'm
are you the gatekeeper?
Are you the gatekeeper? I'm the key master.
And he holds the thing up. He's got a little straight jacket on, right?
Mm-hmm. I love this. When they have him hooked up to the machines, if you look at the monitor.
Yeah, no, it's yeah. Well, no,
it's the demon dog.
He had Dana strapped up, and it just looked like infrared of Sigourney Weaver.
Yeah.
But this one looks like a dog.
Yeah. This one looks like the demon dog.
Moran's.
It's like, so, they ask him his name, and he says Vince Clortho. So we got Zool and Vince Clortho, the two demon dogs. The minions of Gozer.
And he goes into all these things. What does he say about it? Return, it's there. Yeah, Keymaster, right? And so, and that's when Peter calls. He's like, "Oh, I'm at my girlfriend's apartment, but she's like possessed, and like she says she's the gatekeeper. Does that mean anything to you?" "Oh, well, I just so happen to have the Keymaster."
And I love it later when he's talking to them, when Peter's talking to them like in person. He's like, "Yeah, Dana, she's an interesting girl. She sleeps above the covers, 4 feet above the covers."
4 feet above her covers. Like, we got to get these two together. And Egon's like, "I think that would be a very bad idea." Because, key, gate.
Mm-hmm. Yep. A key must be inserted into a lock.
And then, like, Janine's also worried about this. Like, I'm afraid they're gonna die. Talk to Egon while this is going on.
And he's oblivious.
It's like, I'll be your gatekeeper. Then, Peter, he explains, like, again, this is where we find also he brought sedatives with him, and,
Yeah.
he hit her with enough to sleep through the night, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's like, I gotta go. And we get there, it's the next day, and Peck arrives back at headquarters with a cop and someone from the electric company.
Yeah.
Because there's always a movie in the 80s with William Atherton and a guy from the electric company that doesn't want to turn something off.
Yep.
Anyway.
Shut it down. Shut it down now. I always loved that electric company guy in Die Hard was so underrated.
Yes. Also in The Burbs. Anyway.
Oh, yes.
It's got a much bigger role in The Burbs. Anyway. And they come in and he's storming in and Janine's like, wait. No, I know our rights. I've seen TV. You kind of have something about a warrant or a writ. And he just kind of says something and they keep going by.
Holds up manila envelope.
Meanwhile, while this is going on downstairs, Egon's talking about how he's worried about the psychic activity that's been going on in the city. And he's like, imagine this Twinkie. It'd be like,
if this Twinkie was representative of the psychic energy.
The normal psychic energy, right? It'd be like
180 feet long and weigh like 680 pounds or something like that.
Winston's like, that's a big Twinkie.
That's a big Twinkie.
You know what I love about this movie too? There's a lot of cigarette smoking.
Yes, there is. Everybody's smoking cigarettes in there. It was the 80s.
It's the 80s. I was surprised. I guess because I watched it on. Yeah, it's because I watched it on Blu-ray. It wasn't because I watched it on Netflix. Now, you get tobacco warnings.
Yeah.
Movies.
Yep.
I was like, I didn't see it. Oh, it's because I watched it on the Blu-ray.
Yep. But yeah, then Peter gets down there and Winston's like, Egon, tell him about the Twinkie. And Peter looks real worried. He's like, what about the Twinkie?
Pet comes down. He's like, I try to stop him. And he's like, shut this all off. And it's like, the guy's like, I've never seen anything like this.
Mm-hmm. And then, they're arguing with him, trying to get him to go away. And finally,
I love how Peck's if he does that again, he's talking about Peter's like, you can shoot him. The cop's like, you do your job. Yeah. Don't tell me how to do mine, pencil neck.
Yeah.
And Peter's like, thank you, officer. And then Egon's like, it'd be a very grave mistake to shut this off.
Right? And then Peter's like, if you shut this off, we are not responsible for what happens.
Shut it off.
Shut it off.
And the guy's like, and then all of a sudden he hears, there's a red light there, and it's like beep, beep, beep. Mm-hmm. And it's like you get a little slow power down there.
Yep. Right? And then there's an explosion on the roof, and
the explosion's starting to come. The guy's like, oh shit.
Yeah.
And then they all start running up as it's built. You can hear that it's starting to build up. So they're trying to run out. Yep. They know what's coming.
So they get outside and the roof explodes, and there's just all these ghosts go flying out.
Lights going flying around and
all over the city. They go, one goes into a taxi and turns out the driver's a skeleton.
And you got Slimer comes up from a hot dog cart.
Yep.
I love the music. It's it's just kind of a low bass music,
mm-hmm.
There's a little bit of, some vocal. And they're there, and then, Walter Peck's like, I want these guys arrested. You guys like, your mother! And then looking around, and they realize that, before that, Rick Moranis is still there as Vince.
It's Vince Clortho.
He's like, it's the sign. It's the sign. Janine's like, it's a sign, all right. Going out of business. And also they realize, where he is, oh, he's gone, right?
Yeah.
And that's when they get arrested, right? And then
so they get arrested. They get put in jail.
Still have all the streams going through the city, right? And then all of a sudden, Dana wakes up.
And also, what we didn't mention is earlier when Ray and Winston were driving, Ray was looking at the blueprints for the apartment building.
This is very important, yes.
Yeah, for Dana's apartment building.
Winston's driving, Ray is looking at the blueprints, right?
Yeah, and how it's very interesting how the steel is set up.
And he's actually saying he's actually talking actively about it.
Yeah.
Good point, thank you.
And how it's so then when they're in
You'll
jail,
get all the details, but you can tell already, like, this is really, he thinks it's really weird.
So then when they're in jail, they're looking at the blueprints again, which I don't know why they had the blueprints in the jail cell, but
they were nice.
Don't know how they got them. But yeah, so they're looking at the blueprints again, and then he's going a little bit more into detail about what's going on with the apartment building. It was the architect who designed it was Ivo Shandor, and basically.
Well, that was the thing even earlier about that. It's like he was looking at it. I guess it's like it's like the person who designed this was either a real genius or a certified nutcase.
Mm-hmm. So then he points out that in his research he found out that it was Ivo Shandor who was the architect, and the place was designed, like the way it's set up, is basically like an antenna to conduct psychic activity and, like, your
girlfriend
reach into the
penthouse
nether realm.
Of Spook Central. But we see her, though, because as the beams kind of go out, after they get arrested, going out, and you see her kind of walk up, and she's seeing all the ghosts flying out. Because, they give you a sense, like, she's in Central Park West, and they're down more towards the financial district.
Mm-hmm.
So, they're a good ways away. And you see, like, kind of walls kind of, like, explode off from her thing, right? And that's, it cuts into the jail, and they're looking at the things. And I always like the jail scene because, like, the people in the cell they're with don't look like that bad of criminals.
No, and then once they get to talking,
what are they doing?
Yeah, then once they get to looking at the blueprints, everybody's like all intrigued by what they're talking about. So they're all crowding around them and sort of looking and watching.
And then, like, Egon's like talking about Ivo Shandor, right? It's like he thought humanity was too evil or corrupted to continue to exist, right? They'd have these meetings on top of the apartment building, and
mm-hmm.
they were trying to summon Gozer to bring out destruction of the world.
Yeah.
Right?
Because Gozer the Destructor.
Yeah. And it's like, now it looks like it may actually happen. Peter, he's like, "So be good.
For goodness sake, somebody's coming. Somebody's coming."
I love Winston's like, I'm sorry, guys, but I'm gonna have to get my own lawyer.
And then
Carl,
Reginald Vell Johnson.
It's like Ghostbusters.
Good old Carl Winslow.
The mayor wants to see you.
Al Powell.
They go in, and the mayor's advisors are there. Walter Peck is there.
Meanwhile,
the bishop comes.
Yeah, meanwhile, after the walls blew out at Dana's apartment, then
shows up to her apartment. He's like, "I'm the keymaster. Are you the gatekeeper?" Probably like the one scripted line. I don't know. Anyway.
Yep. So they get together and
they kiss.
Yes, they kiss. They kiss.
All they do is kiss. This is not Ghostbusters Afterlife, where later
all it shows is they kiss, because then they turn toward the fridge, and it's implied they do more.
Yes.
But yeah, so the Ghostbusters are talking to the mayor.
The bishop is there. It's like, Your Eminence. Walter Peck's there. He's trying to get, using these gases to convince people that they're, seeing all these ghosts and all these things. And
and then Ray's like, if it wasn't ridiculous over here turning off our containment unit.
And he was like, is this true?
And then he's going on. Then Walter Peck starts talking. He's going on about how they're causing all these problems, and they're gonna,
they're using gases.
They're using gases and all this,
hallucinate and like think they're seeing ghosts and all these things.
And Peter's like, is this true? And Peter's like, yes, it's true. This man has no dick.
Your mother. That's what I heard.
So the mayor is still skeptical about, whether or not he should leave them or he should let them go take care of the ghosts.
When Winston comes up, it's like, excuse me, man. Like, I've only been with the company for a week.
For a few weeks. He said, I've only been with the company for like a couple weeks.
And I'm skeptical and all this, but I tell you, since I've been here, I've seen shit that will turn you white.
Yeah. So the mayor's still on the fence on if he's going to let him take care of it or not. And Peter points out, if we're successful, then you will have saved the lives of millions of registered voters. And the
mayor's like,
oh.
And then the bishop's over there's like,
he's nodding his head.
he looks at Beck. He's like, get him out of here. Well, he said it's like he's like, well, if you're wrong, like, if we're wrong, we'll go to jail peacefully, happily.
Yeah, but if we're right, you will have saved the lives of millions of registered voters. So
they get them back all their
they get them back all their gear and everything,
and all the gear, and
they pull up to the apartment building, and everybody's cheering.
Everyone's there.
There's like a parade going on
a line
for
of
them.
people around, knowing that this is where the shit's gonna go down.
And they pull out. They get out of the car, out of the Ecto-1, and then the ground starts to quake, and the road cracks up, and they fall.
Like, what's going on?
And the cop car is in the middle of it too, so it kind of gets flipped up, and then they all climb out of the hole, and everybody starts cheering.
They say a little something, and they go in, right? And they can't use the elevator; they gotta go up the steps.
Yep. You gotta go up the stairs.
All 22 flights.
And they're showing them walking up the stairs, and they're all exhausted. They're all tired, and
they got proton packs.
They got heavy ass proton packs on their backs.
Nuclear reactors on their back.
And so, like, how high are we? Like, I think we're in the teens somewhere. Like, okay, yeah, Peter's like, oh, okay. Let me know. Yeah, tell me when we get to the 20. I gotta throw up. I'm gonna throw up.
They finally get up there, and like which one's yours? It's like it's out of the hall. They go in, looking around, and see the steps, and like, where do the stairs go? And like he's like, of course,
up.
Like he's never seen the apartment. He's never seen the apartment look like this.
Yeah. Like, where do those stairs go? Up.
Now they're up there, but like it's like the temple area that you kind of saw the pyramid, in the fridge, right?
Yeah, so they go up there and they're on the roof,
and they see Dana and Lewis. Like it's kind of like then they kind of seem to get transformed into those demon dogs, right? And then all of a sudden, Gozer appears as a woman with a flat top.
Yes,
she looks like she should be leading an aerobics class.
She does. Yes, she looks like she should be leading an aerobics class.
And they're like, Gozer's a girl. It's like Gozer can appear however Gozer wants to appear.
Yeah. And
Gozer saw the 80s and saw aerobics instructors.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like, this how Gozer wants to appear.
This is what I want to look like.
That's fair. It's fine.
Yeah. So
if it was in the 2000s, Gozer would have looked like Avril Lavigne, probably.
Yep. So Gozer looks at Ray and says, "Are you a god?" And Ray says, "No." And then they die. She like sends force lightning,
shoots stuff out
of her hands, and
they sends her to the edge of the building when it was about to fall off. Right.
And then Winston's
like, Ray, when someone asks if you're a god, you say yes.
You say yes.
Especially if it's another god.
So I love this that they get up and Peter's like, "All right, guys, aim for the flat top."
And she does some crazy aerobatic type of flip.
Yeah.
Right? And she kind of disappears, right? And then her voice kind of shows up and she's like, "Choose the form of your destructor."
And then Peter's like,
"Everyone's like, empty your minds.
Empty your minds. Whatever we think of, she's going to make that be the destroyer of New York."
We think of J. Edgar Hoover.
Yeah, if you think of J. Edgar Hoover, J. Edgar Hoover's going to show up and destroy the city. And
then you hear like, "The choice is made."
And then it was like, "Did you think of something?" No, my mind was blank. I didn't think of anything. You didn't think of anything. And then they all look at Ray. I couldn't help it. It just popped in there. I tried to think of the most harmless thing that I loved when I was a kid. Something that could never hurt anyone. Meanwhile, you see,
you kind of hear
you kind of see between buildings, sort of this creature walking over. He's like, it's like the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. And then it shows a full view. Then it shows a full view of the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. Oh.
And it was like, ah! And he's like walking down like by Times Square, and he looks very happy at this point.
He does. He's got a big smile on his face, and his eyes are kind of going series, left and right.
Like, he's a very happy ghost. Like, think of him as a villain.
No.
He's not really a villain. He's just it's been this thing that's been conjured by Gozer.
Yes.
That looks like Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. It's not Stay Puft. It's not the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. It just appears like the Stay Puft Marshmallow
It's Gozer in the form of the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man.
Yes. It's like, hey, he's a sailor. It's New York. All you do is get him laid.
So they try shooting him with their proton packs, and they singe some of the marshmallow.
And then he conducts like the fire and shoots it back
and blasts them again. And then Egon gets the bright idea to cross the streams.
Like, we can reverse the portal, right? Because it's like there's another kind of dimension up there on the roof.
Yeah, because the portal. So the portal to the ghostly dimension is up there with them. It's where Gozer came from. That's
the way they had to close the gate, right?
Yeah,
so he's like, well, we can cross the streams.
Yeah, and then Peter's like, well, didn't you say that was bad? He's like, yeah, but see, if we do it into the portal, then it'll collapse everything on that side. There's a slim chance that we could survive. And Peter's like, I love this plan. This is the best plan ever. Let's do it.
They get up and they power up their packs and their guns. They all start shooting into the portal. Then they slowly cross the streams, right?
Mm-hmm. And then there's a big explosion.
They get shot back, and
then Mr. Stay Puft blows up.
You see his face. All of a sudden, he looks like a flaming marshmallow that you can just make the massive s'more ever with.
Yep, and then just explodes into so much marshmallow.
It all goes on the William Atherton.
Yeah. He's all down there this just marshmallow fluff just falls all over the city. Covers the Ghostbusters, covers William Atherton, covers everything in the area.
But they won.
Yes.
And then, they go down towards the demonic dogs, and they could see that they're trying to get out from them because they've kind of they've solidified like a statue.
They've solidified into like stone.
Yeah.
Like gargoyles. And they see the paw on one of them starts to crumble, and they see Dana's hand moving around. So they're all running over there trying to break apart the outer shell to get Dana out. And then the one Lewis is in starts breaking apart, and he's got the head on his head. He's like, hey, who turned out the lights? Or somebody turn on the lights. And then Peter's like, hey, go get that little guy.
There's somebody else. And then Ray's like, we're at the most, at the center of the most psychic active since the full, what was it, the four what?
I don't remember what it was. But
like, you're lucky. It's like, oh, okay.
So they get down to the street level,
and everyone's cheering for them. And I love the last line of the movie. I love the last line of the movie. It's Winston.
Mm-hmm.
He just looks up like, I love this town.
Yep. So they're going around, shaking hands, and everybody's cheering, and the credits start to roll, and you get that, you get the Ghostbusters theme playing, and great movie. Yeah, love this movie.
It's hilarious.
Love this movie.
It's funny because it's funny, but especially when you first watch it, it's like you don't know what's actually going to happen, and you run with it, and then even afterwards, you know what's going to happen, and you just want to see it each time because it's hilarious. You love the characters. like some of the lines, like they hit you different each time. And they came out with the TV series afterwards, the real Ghostbusters, and then Ghostbusters 2, which is not as good, but it has its moments. And
yeah. It's still a solid movie. It's it's still enjoyable, but I saw Ghostbusters 2 isn't nearly as good. But then you got Ghostbusters Afterlife, which was a return to form.
Yeah, it was.
And then Frozen Empire, which was a great sequel to Afterlife.
Serious in a way. Like, it doesn't have that comedy as much. I know Paul Rudd's in it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely got comedy in it, but it's a little more serious, than the original. And
it's slightly like a remake in a way.
Mm-hmm.
No, it brings back into
so Frozen Empire has a little bit more comedy than Afterlife does.
And Ghostbusters 2 is almost straight up more like comedy, and some of it doesn't work as well, except for the part that, like, again, this was 1989. So I probably wasn't. Yeah, I was like not quite 6 when I saw Ghostbusters 2 in the theaters, and Vigo scared the ever living shit out of me. That painting.
Yeah.
Was frightening to me.
Yeah. Vigo the Carpathian. Yeah.
So, but then, like, again, like, I had the Ghostbusters video game on Genesis. The game came out, like, in the late 80s and didn't even have Winston in it. And it was a cool video game to play. It was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, but, like, I had actually not seen the most recent one that came out a few months ago.
Yeah, Frozen Empire.
Yeah.
It was good. I enjoyed it.
I actually have seen the one, 2016 from with Kristen Wiig and all that.
Yeah, the all-female Ghostbusters.
The way I saw it was that I was during jury duty, showing it while we were waiting to see if we were going to be called to the trial.
Okay.
So just sitting there with a bunch of people
watching Ghostbusters.
That was it's like, okay, probably not a horrible movie, but like
I saw that one. It's nowhere near the original. Like, it's nowhere near as good as the original Ghostbusters.
I honestly think one of the problems that comes with it is that
I don't think
the comedy is so natural.
Yeah.
In the first one.
Yeah.
Like, if you're trying to do it again, you're gonna force it.
Yeah.
And it's just not gonna happen. And and like Ghostbusters 2 even has that problem in some ways. And you see that with a lot of comedy sequels, right?
Yeah, because they're trying to replicate what happened with the original, and the original was just everything came together perfectly. It was the product of the time. It was the talent they had, the writing, direction, everything. It all aligned.
Right. And then we're like, okay, well, we got to do it again. It's like, okay.
Mm-hmm. And it faced the same troubles as, most sequels.
And like, I think about another, like The Hangover 2. Like, okay, we got to try to do it again. We're just going to have to switch things up and make it this way and this way. But then you just see it's like, okay, yeah, but you're trying to do what the first one did.
Yeah. And that's already been done. So.
It's already been done. Again, it's not as natural. So the first Ghostbusters still stands alone. Ghostbusters 2 is obviously great. And, we don't get Stay Puft Marshmallow and we get the Statue of Liberty walking.
Yes. But, I mean, who knows? We may do Ghostbusters 2 or Afterlife or Frozen Empire at some point on here. It won't be next. But yeah, we may do it one of these days. But yeah, is there anything else you wanted to say about
it? I'm glad we did this one because it's, again, it's an early blockbuster type and one of those movies where I think the studios decided to take a risk and it worked out for them really well.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, we looked at it like, it's one of those ones that spawned actual, like, the blockbuster in the sense, not just that it was a popular movie, but like creates so much other content.
Yeah. Spin-offs and
Independence Day last week, and like there was at that point you could go ahead and truly market it and then do all these other things, whether it be video games or marketing with other products, companies that could just do things that were related to it and build up their brands with this other brand.
Merchandising.
So Ghostbusters is the same thing, and it worked out perfectly for them. And it's one of those, I think, rare movies where it's this creative concept that came together. It was executed so perfectly, and I could easily watch it over and over, or just it's hard not to find some way to use a line somewhere.
Yeah.
But what are we doing next?
Well, first, before we announce what we're doing next, if you want to follow us on social media, we are on Facebook, Instagram, and Threads. It is Rob and Tony's Cinematic Adventure. The and is spelled out, A-N-D, not an ampersand like the title of the podcast is. And we're also on X or Twitter. It is R&T Cinematic. And then we are, if you have a Letterboxd account and you want to follow us on Letterboxd and see our reviews on stuff, mostly Tony's reviews because he handles more of the Letterboxd stuff than I do. But that's Cine Adventure or Cine Adventure, C-I-N-E Adventure. So check us out, see what we like. Maybe we like the same movies as you. And yeah. But anyway, also if you'd like to send us an email, let us know what kind of movies you like. Should we do Ghostbusters 2? Then
should we do Honey, I Shrunk the Kids?
Yeah. So
should we do Gorillas in the Mist because you love Sigourney Weaver?
Yeah. But anyway, our email is robandtonycinematicadventure@gmail.com. Once again, the and is spelled out, A-N-D. But let us know what you think. Look for us on social media, give us a like and a follow and, comment on our stuff and let us know what you think. Send us an email. We want to hear from you. And then just go to your favorite podcast app, wherever you listen to us. And, if you enjoy the show, leave us a good review, a good rating. That's how we move up in the rankings and in the search and all that. So more people can find out about us and listen and we can reach more ears. But, so next time we're going to obviously continuing with our summer blockbuster series.
Yes.
But we're going to do a little something different. We're going to do an animated feature this time. We're doing Finding Nemo. So the 2003
Pixar classic
about fish
and his dad, or a fish and his son.
Yes.
It's probably the more appropriate way to say it.
Yes, a clownfish named Marlin and his son Nemo.
Get the tissues ready.
Yes.
But I'm excited about this because, it's a lot of animated movies are blockbusters.
Yeah, especially if they're Pixar movies.
We've not done really any kids ones. And, we had to decide because a lot of Pixar stuff is actually more holiday blockbusters.
Yeah.
Summer blockbusters.
Yeah, there's only a handful of Pixar movies that are summer blockbusters.
Or would you Finding Nemo? So if you haven't seen it, you can hold off or you can watch it.
Yeah, you got time. You got a week to watch it before that episode comes out. So, and you don't always have to listen to the episode right when it comes out. Sure, do it. You can if you want to, but it's still going to be there if you're not able to watch the movie within the next week. When you do get around to watching the movie, then you can listen to the episode. Anyway, we will see you next time for some Finding Nemo.